Hey everyone, and welcome back to Repressed Humor Issues. We are on episode 8. Freaking awesome. Love that we are here.
Are you going to tell everybody what episode number it is every single time? Can we get past that now?
I'm not past it yet, so no one else should be, because the world does revolve around me.
Yet you do so little of the work.
I've picked up a little bit this week. Maybe. Maybe a little bit.
Maybe.
But with that said, I'm Ryan. If you didn't know
And I'm
by
Dan.
now. Yeah.
Oh, and I'm Dan because he has to cut me off while I'm in the middle of introducing myself properly for the first time because I didn't have anything ready.
It's amazing.
So now I'm the guy that just gets interrupted.
For the first time, you didn't have anything to say.
No, I just didn't have anything ready to say. I said I'm Dan, so I had something to say.
That's fair. That's fair. I did realize I listened back to our previous recordings just to see where I can personally improve, where I repeat too much. I do say that's fair a lot. I'm gonna try to be self-aware of that so I don't drive myself insane when I listen back to our own recordings.
So I've got a better idea. Why don't you just not participate at all? And then you don't have to worry about feeling self-conscious about it. I mean, you're 90% of the way there already.
It's the truth.
So I gotta lead off today. I have a problem.
Please.
I have a gigantic problem, and it's not the screen behind me that I overbought because we kind of figured out a way to be able to pack this monstrosity up, even though it's like 8 times bigger than it needs to be.
It's fucking huge, by the way.
You'll see it. We're going to be going to video shortly, so you'll see it. It's just a backdrop I bought because my daughter's bedroom doubles as our recording studio on my side. So this is the only place that I can do this. And we need to block out some of the stuff back behind me because it's just not podcast ready and the blur isn't good on this tool. So I bought a backdrop and you'll see how ridiculous it is in a couple.
Thank you for that, Robert California, CEO. That's his title for today, if anyone was curious.
Okay, Gargatha Crispy.
It's Gargatha. Gargatha, like Bertha, but Gargatha.
It looks like Gargamel. Maybe you should just change it to Gargamel.
It's like I'm a new unfortunate cheese.
I was just thinking of the Smurf killer, but anyways, let's get to my complaint. My wife, God bless her soul, always wants to try to make my life more miserable. And I constantly would complain every single time that I got into bed that the bed was cold because the bed was fucking cold. Okay, we could just accept it. The bed was cold. So in order to keep me from complaining and to make me feel happy, she went and bought a king size electric blanket for underneath us. Okay, to be able to put the heat up. And it's amazing. Now it's contact heat, so you don't feel it until you lay on it. So it's not like the bed sheets get all hot and that sort of stuff. And it took away a whole bunch of the ways that I had to complain. So I'm pretty sure she hates me because she does not want to hear me do what I do best, which is complain. Now, this pisses me off because I'm really good at it. But the other thing that it does, the cats that we have, they'll lay at the end of the bed, right at the end, just far enough out of kicking range. Okay, they'll get kicked every once in a while, but they've learned, when the bed sheet starts moving, jump off the bed so that they don't get kicked. Well, they realize now that there's all of a sudden a blanket that the farther they move forward on the bed, the more the heat that they get, and they love that heat.
Yep.
So it's a big problem for me because now the cats are gradually working their way up the bed, and now they're getting kicked again, and I get in trouble when they get kicked, even though I basically have to sleep on less than Michael Scott's bench at the end of the bed in the dinner party episode. I mean,
so you're kind of damned if you do and damned if you don't.
The only good part about this is it gave me something new to complain about.
Cats encroaching on your warmth.
But the cat's encroaching on my territory. That is my spot. They're not supposed to be encroaching on my spot. If I go to the bathroom, I'm guaranteed to have to kick a cat off of the bed to get back into my spot. And these are black cats on a black blanket, and we have a black rug underneath it. So if it's late enough at night, generally what you're hearing is a cat screech as I almost lay on it trying to get back into bed.
Is your house also like a gothic macabre cinema or something like that? All black
Oh,
everything?
okay. So yes and no. Our headboard happens to be black, but it does have these giant plastic jewels embedded in it in a specific pattern. And so we call it the violencing headboard because if you lean up against it, those things
Oh,
dig into your
oh,
scalp.
shit.
We bought a blanket one time that was like this oversized, fluffy blanket. We call it the smother blanket because literally, like, we have a full king size bed and it was dragging like a foot on each side of the floor how big this blanket was, and it was giant, it was puffy. That's the smother blanket. And then my wife has this pillow that she's had for like 25 years that I'm pretty sure it's just small animal bones and rocks in it now because it's hard beyond belief, but she has to have that in bed with her when she sleeps because she's had it so long. So that's the murder pillow.
That's
That's what's
that
going to end up eventually killing me.
well, that's also called dust mites. It's time to part with the 25-year-old pillow.
Oh, you can have that argument with her. I will not win that argument. I will gladly let you have that argument. I will even provide the Bactine and the gauze for afterwards.
I'm afraid of your wife as it stands, so I will keep my distance.
Yes, I've seen my wife in action. It's you just learn take a couple step backs and let evolution take its course.
But I do have a wild amount of respect for her for eliminating complaint mechanisms for you, but little did she know you found a way to complain yet again about something
Oh,
else, and she caused it, so she's to
it's
blame.
it's what I do. I mean, if I'm not complaining about the murder shows that we watch, that the acting is horrible in it, I'm complaining about some other ridiculous thing on the TV, or I'm complaining about something in the bed, or I'm complaining about something outside. I mean, it's what we do, it's our love language.
Hmm. Most well, I it I don't have anything good there.
So, speaking of bad things, the other thing that we haven't talked about that we wanted to talk about for a couple of weeks, George Santos is making cameos.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So I have, excuse me, I have kind of a personal funny story. I think I've mentioned this before, and if I haven't, let it be known. Senator John Fetterman lives really near me and often partakes in coffee immediately outside my building. Now, he was, I think, the first one to really kick this off, but trolled George Santos by purchasing a cameo and having him read off something about another senator who John Fetterman wants off multiple committees and I think even just to get out of Congress generically. Brilliant action. And I think since then we've seen the likes of Jimmy Kimmel's really teed off on this. I think he's bought multiple. I mean, mind you, he's lining George Santos's pocket, but it is hilarious what they're getting him to read. And he's willing to so far read whatever for money.
And this is where, when we found out about this, I don't know if you remember, but I have a specific cameo that I'd like to make him do before this whole thing blows up and he goes to prison. Because he is going to prison. We all know that.
Oh yeah.
But I want him to have to do the, oh my God, look at the size of her butt. Have to do the beginning to I like big butts. I just want him to have to do as far into that song as we can get in the time that we can afford to buy. It would just be hilarious to hear him say that because it would be so wrong on so many different levels.
Well, I mean, when he was doing that interview most recently, and the interviewer questioned if he was a Nicki Minaj fan, and he immediately jumps into actual Nicki Minaj lyrics. I'm like, this guy, he was never meant for politics. He just was
No.
meant to get his name out there so he can be a clown.
And this is where I've told you this. My belief, it's the same with Vivek Ramaswamy, whatever. I can never say his last name. Um, and to be honest, Dean Phillips and to a certain point, Chris Christie. The only reason they're still in the race and the only reason George Santos came to Congress is because it's profitable to do so. The only reason they stay in the campaigns is because it's profitable to do so from a personal level, because you can write off so much stuff. You
Yeah.
know, you could just stay in high-end hotels, and as long as you have donors that are willing to pay for it, you could stay in the hotel and say, well, I was doing XYZ in that city at this time, and there's no rules against it. It's Citizens United just exploding to the level that people are now, for personal gain, taking advantage of what comes out of it. And the ultimate is Trump, who's using it to fund his entire legal team across all the different legal problems that he has right now.
I mean, it's like, unfortunately, it's kind of brilliant. They're playing this the system that's been put in place for them.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's
And you
like,
could go back to Citizens United to be able to justify it. But I think the fact that George Santos lost the ability to be able to do that within the halls of Congress now and has decided instead to do it within the halls of an app that you can buy and buy the message for a video thing is the biggest sign of what exactly is going on in Congress.
well, I mean, next stop is the OnlyFans train for George Santos, and no one wants that train.
Well, but we still never figured out if George Santos was watching OnlyFans or if he was on OnlyFans. We
I
still don't
don't.
know that part of it.
You know what? That's knowledge I'm okay not knowing.
I mean, you got to pick the scab a little bit. You got to watch the car drive into the bus full of nuns and orphans. It's just something we have to do. And George Santos right now is driving 90 miles an hour directly to T-bone that bus.
Oh, he's already clipped some children on the way. Um, like,
Ran over a couple of puppies. And
I mean, I swear. But I do want to, at this point, if you're good with it, make mention of the sponsor of our show.
yeah, we should do that, considering we're probably about an eighth of the way through the show.
Yeah, it's a special one near and dear to both of our hearts, but Virgin Orbit.
Yes, and the reason why Virgin Orbit, who filed for bankruptcy recently and shut down operations, needs to be our sponsors because we can have some great messaging about why they should never send up another rocket into space. Because today we're going to talk about flat earthers.
God. I I'll start off, and I'll raise my hand before we proceed. You know much more about this. A lot of my responses are going to be sheer disbelief, jaw-dropping stupidity that exists on this planet that is round, spherical, and rotating around the sun.
Well, so let's talk about that because there's some math involved in what you just talked about. But we should say galactic orbit. If you've got some extra money from your shutdown fund, we're more than willing to spread your message of this is how you bankrupt an entire company.
I think you just tried to pull my screen name into the name of the company. It's Virgin Orbit, not Gargatha Orbit. Jesus.
So, anyways, I said galactic orbit, didn't I? I should have
You
said
did.
urban orbit. Yeah, okay. Anyways, so there's a lot that we have to talk about the math of this. And let's talk about what flat earthers actually believe because it's actually pretty
Yes, please,
funny.
because it's fucking baffling.
So, in researching this, what I found is okay, they believe there's a flat earth and they don't really describe what's on the other side. And there's no Antarctica. Antarctica is just a giant ice wall that goes around the entire flat earth that keeps all the oceans in.
Like a fortress?
Fortress of Solitude kind of thing? Are you thinking? Nobody's ever seen it apparently.
Okay, so there's a fence of ice that we're gonna call Antarctic fence protecting barrier around the flat Earth. That's what you're kind of alluding to, correct?
Yep, with the North Pole directly in the middle of the flat Earth. So if you look at the flat Earth as like if it was a vinyl record, okay,
Uh-huh.
you're gonna start playing from Antarctica and get your way to the North Pole.
So the hole in the middle in the record is the
Is
North Pole.
Antarctica? Yes.
No, North Pole.
Oh, sorry, North Pole. Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Okay. Now there's proof that from the way that the Earth spins, that we actually are a little oblong. The Earth is a little bit fatter at the equators. And that's just simply because the way that the spin works, it expands out at the equators. That's the 24-hour day creates that.
To be fair, I'm whiter at my equators as well. Anyway.
If we want to turn this into an insult to you, just start spouting the flat earther beliefs and I'll just shoot you down one after another. But anyways, the fun part about this is they don't believe that there's a spin. But with zero spin, the Earth can't continuously exist. The
So
continents can't exist where they are.
so what is spinning then to make it nighttime, daytime, that kind of thing?
So here's the fun part. They believe there's this giant dome over top of the Earth.
What?
And the sun is about 5,500 kilometers away from the Earth, and so is the moon. And they're both flat disks that exist above the Earth.
Can I
Okay.
ask a clarifying question about said dome?
Yes.
So is this like astrodome or hypothetical dome, like an ozone layer dome? Or are we talking like a glass roof type thing?
A glass roof, because they believe that all the stars are painted onto this. Okay, and there's no gravity in the flat Earth belief, so this is what's holding all the oxygen in against the Earth too. So
Oh, well, this makes sense with your Virgin Orbit comment now.
yes, because what we have to worry about is as Elon Musk and as Jeff Bezos and as Richard Branson are trying to push farther into the cosmos, eventually they're going to hit this dome. And if they punch a hole in it, all the air is going to get sucked out of the dome, and human beings are just going to get sucked out into space or whatever is beyond the dome because we can't know it because the dome is the extent of what human beings know, according to flat earthers.
So it's just like white space outside of the dome and
Nobody knows. There could be just a universe out there of other domes with other mini galaxies and, with different star patterns painted on them. Nobody knows.
but wait, so like I mean you said no one talks about the underside. So is the earth just like in a creme brulee container or something like that? And the dome is like the part that you crack on top before you get to eat it? I'm hungry if you can't tell.
I honestly don't know. When you ask them, when you ask a flat earther, they become much less willing to talk about what exactly goes on with the dome. But here's the thing. We've had a reference to how domes work. We've seen this within the last 20 years. Because if everybody remembers the Simpsons movie,
Oh.
they had a dome fall come over them after, their pollution just got out of whack.
What
Uh,
wasn't this Truman Show as well? Didn't they have a dome in Truman Show?
Yes, yeah,
Yeah,
they
yeah.
had a dome as well, and their dome's probably more accurate, but the Simpsons one's more funny.
Mm.
So, but we have to worry because if you remember, at the end of it, the bomb goes off just outside of the dome, and it cracks, and it all falls down, and it kills Doctor Nick, and that was the end of the Doctor Nick character. We have to worry because if Elon Musk sends one of his starships all the way up and it punctures that dome. Okay, we don't know if some sort of imaginary force is going to pull that dome down and crush us all, or if that dome is just going to fly out into space. According to the Simpsons model, it will probably fall on us and we'll start out by eating little flakes of glass thinking it's like snow, end up getting punctured by hundreds of millions of tons of dome material, whatever that happens to be.
God, there's so many jokes right there.
Go for it. try
Well,
to try.
dome material. Anyway, that could be sexual, but we're not going to make this so sexual. So
Please don't.
Yeah, I'm gonna refrain. I'm gonna keep this on the expletive meter, but not that kind of expletive. So I have, oh man, quandaries and questions. Okay, Elon Musk, NASA, bunches of space entities at this juncture have launched things to the moon, Mars, etc.
Oh, that's
Beyond,
all fake, according to the flat earthers. You got to realize the videos that are taken that show the 24-hour light in Antarctica are all considered fake by the flat earthers.
okay, well then, okay. So now I got to go back, and this is the analytical brain in me. So you're saying the dome rotates,
Well,
and
it
they,
has to because that's the only way the stars can move, and we know the stars move
oh,
because we can see it in the sky.
these people are fucking stupid. Okay, so then how, like, you sent me a TikTok video because to help me prepare for this, and they used a gyroscope or something like that
Yes.
on the Earth, and it was rotating at what, 15 degrees, I believe, because the Earth is rotating, which immediately disproved it. But they didn't buy into that. Instead, they put it in what, an Antarctic tube of some sort.
No. So what happened is they put a gyroscope. They tested it to be able to see the motion of the Earth because they believe there's no motion to the Earth,
Right.
and it read at 9.8 meters per second squared, which is what we know as that's how much gravity is.
Got it.
Okay, so what they did was they put it in a degausser tube, and that
Degazer.
was supposed to eliminate all other potential sources of energy messing with this gyroscope. And what they found was that it registered 9.8 meters per second squared. So they actually did a really good test to prove the Earth was round, was a globe. And when they did that, what they said was, well, there must be some other force that we didn't think of that was making it do this. So we're still right, but we have to figure out the experiment to prove it. There's other people that have done what they call the sticks test, which the better version of it is you put a piece of paper with a hole in it, or a piece of wood with a hole in it.
Okay.
Okay, and then you walk like 2 miles or 3 miles. Then put another stick with a hole in it. Then you walk another 3 miles and put another stick with a hole in it. And all the sticks are measured so that they're the exact same amount above sea level. Well, what they found was the curvature of the Earth will actually make it go through the first two holes. It'll never line up to the third hole. It will always show high because the Earth's curved and it doesn't bend the light along with it.
Oh God.
So these people just don't get that they're proving that it's a globe with these experiments that they think prove that it's flat.
But
And every
then,
time they fail, they come up with something new.
God, this is so fucking stupid. How do they account for waves in the ocean?
Well, realize that the moon and the sun just have a patterned orbit up in the sky. They're flat disks, but they allow for the tides to move, even though they don't believe in gravity. It's still the whatever the electromagnetic force is from the sun and the moon that are only 5,500 kilometers away are what create the waves. The
Okay.
funnier thing is what actually creates the seasons and night and day, because we know on Earth that at the North Pole, they get 24 hours of sunlight at a certain point of the year. And at the exact same time, the Antarctic gets 24 hours of darkness.
Right. Right.
Okay. So if the sun is up above a flat plane, it's going to illuminate the whole plane. Okay. So what they say is that the sun is more like a flashlight, that it only has a specific trajectory for the light, and the sun as a flashlight moves around in a way that spreads the light around. Well, people have done the calculations, and basically there's this really weird arbitrary shadow that the sun has to create on itself to get to the point that the Antarctic is always dark while the Arctic has 24 hours worth of sun.
Oh my God, this is the dumbest shit. Sorry, my
Okay, it
brain
gets
keeps.
worse.
I
It
know,
gets
because,
worse.
well, here, I'll ask the question and see if we're walking in the same path here, because my brain's taking leaps of things that don't make sense. How do they explain? Okay, God, I'm so mad. This is just irritating me. So there's multiple mountain ranges around the world. some are
Yes.
very high. Hypothetically, I should be able, with the flat earth logic, if I'm following it correctly, to be able to stand in one position and look to another continent, probably with a telescope, but whatever, and see those mountains because the earth is flat.
Yes, and in 1930, there was somebody from the U.S. Army Engineering Corps that went out and took a picture from 20,000 feet. That they drew the line to the Andes Mountains that were like 250 miles away, and he could not see them because they were below the horizon because the Earth has a curve to it. That just they don't explain that from a flat Earth perspective. They just say that those sorts of things are impossible. Then what they'll do is they'll say, okay, listen, this boat is 30 miles out into the water and all water is flat to them. Okay, so there's no curve to the water as it conforms to the way that the Earth is, the globe. It's just completely flat. And they say, listen, I can still see this boat. And generally, what happens is the farther away it gets, if you watch videos of it, you'll see the boat go from the bottom all the way up to the top. It'll disappear below the horizon.
Yeah, yeah,
But
yeah.
they'll take one picture and say, well, this justifies it. How could I see this if the Earth was round? They don't understand 1 degree of rotation is a significant amount of land on the Earth.
Okay, little flat earth fuckers. Neither Dan or I are flat earthers, FYI, if that wasn't clear. Explain to me. Wait, I'll ask another question before I jump to my question because I feel like we just have to say it out loud before we. Ooh, I gotta calm down. Uh, so the dome.
We're back to the dome.
We're back to the dome, and I'll land this plane. You'll understand where I'm going with this in a second. I couldn't fly outside of this hypothetical dome or Antarctic wall, correct?
Correct.
Okay. How do they then explain going from, let's say, Buenos Aires to Sydney, Australia?
And realize that on the flat Earth map, they're on exactly opposite sides. Now, there is no north or south in the flat Earth map. It can't exist because if you look south towards Antarctica, you're technically looking every direction around you. Now, when you place that on a flat map, what ends up happening is the Pacific Ocean extends to about 50% of the Earth's surface on the flat Earth plane, which means that when you fly from Argentina to Australia, the way that we apparently do it, we take the longest possible way because we go over the Pacific Ocean. Where on a flat Earth map, if you look at it, Argentina is exactly opposite through the North Pole of where Australia is. You'd be much faster flying over North America, over the Arctic. We know that doesn't happen. It's still faster from Argentina to Australia to fly from Argentina over the Pacific Ocean, over the parts of the Antarctic area. They don't fly over the North Pole because it would take way longer than if they just flew direct the way that we know it. But they can't answer that. And that whole thing about South not existing is really amazing because there are stars in the sky that only exist, like Polaris, only can be seen from the Northern Hemisphere. And the Southern Cross, which is 5 stars that make a cross, are on only visible from the Southern Hemisphere. And they try to explain to them, okay, if you take somebody from Cape Town, South Africa, and Santiago or someplace in Argentina, and they both look south, they're seeing exactly the same stars in the sky. Same as somebody in Russia and North America can look at Polaris just by looking north. But what they say is south is technically, if you're looking at the Antarctic, wrapping all the way around us. Now,
So,
it's great that we could talk about these things, but I want to get to the funny outcomes that come out of this.
well, I also need to ask a question. Sorry, and I know this is off the reservation a bit. Have you met a flat earther in your life? I have not.
So when I decided that, well, I think we decided somehow together that flat earthers would be fun to make fun of. I started watching Dave the Flat Earther and Dave the Professor and the fights that they had and how they just insulted each other. And it was somewhat funny because Dave the Flat Earther was obviously an idiot, and Dave the Professor was just being petty to him. But there was some good stuff that came out of it from a science perspective. But I thought there's better ways to be able to take it to a ridiculous level. And one of those is those rockets that we're launching out into space, because we have to stop Elon Musk now from launching rockets into space, because they're either going to come bouncing back off of that dome because it's made of some material that can't be broken, or he's going to break that dome open and end all civilization as we know it. So since there's no gravity to hold the air in, all that air is going to leak out at the same time that the dome comes collapsing in on us. No more space travel. Elon, you are not allowed to send anything else out into space.
Hold up, hold up, hold up. So this just dawned on me too. Uh, if we have global warming, I feel like flat earthers would really have to bite into that, because if the hypothetical ice wall and there's no gravity and the ice wall melted, wouldn't that then imply that all the water runs off the earth and Shamu is fucked?
And they believe that so water does not run uphill. Everybody knows that. But it will run from areas above sea level that are higher to areas that are lower. Well, they believe that that doesn't work on a flat plane. Okay, they believe that gravity can't do that. So all water automatically levels itself. And that means that all water falls off the edge without that ice dome. They should be the biggest people talking about climate change, because we don't know how thick that ice wall is. Apparently, to them, nobody's ever been there, even though we have video of the Antarctic and the Arctic to prove that people have been there. But that wall could be, eroding fairly quickly. And if they haven't surveyed the entirety of it, we could be in for a global catastrophe where we lose all seawater, and that would rush all the water out of the Great Lakes. That would rush all the water out of a lot of places that are necessary for us to live. Now, it would make it really easy to get fish for a very short period of time. Okay, we would all be living off of fish for a while, but then there'd never be fish again. So we better get as much of it as we possibly can, as quick as we possibly can.
I This is just sorry, I want to make words, but this is stupid. This
Oh,
is I
what I
mean,
love is
people
without
could fall off the
gravity,
edge. People could fall off the edge of the flat
nobody's
earth.
apparently ever been to the edge. That's their thing. And we don't know if the dome comes up to the edge. So, you'd be stupid enough to just walk directly into the dome. We don't know if that would actually happen. I guess we could at some point. I would guess Elon could build one of his tunnels that we could try to tunnel under the dome, circa that sandbox in The Simpsons, where they just kind of pop out on the other side, which makes zero sense whatsoever. Um, but I mean, there's other implications to this. Cats rely on gravity to be able to pull down very sensitive bones in their ears so that they always land on their paws. Okay. If we start buying into this flat earth methodology, cats are going to start falling on their backs. Cats are not going to know what to do. And that is very important, because my wife loves her cats. And if her cats end up in wheelchairs from landing wrong and breaking their backs, there's going to be some serious hell to pay. And I don't want to have to pay that hell.
I'm gonna make a cat joke, and I apologize.
Okay, well, if you have to apologize, you shouldn't make the joke.
I'm gonna make it. But if the earth was flat, wouldn't cats have pushed everything off of it by now?
Oh, you read that on Reddit somewhere, didn't you?
I did.
Forward
I
slash
did.
flat Earth jokes, and that's the best you came up with.
Oh, it was so good though, and it fit in right there.
Well, so there's this whole idea of the Earth being a globe because of the spin on our axis, and it is true. We know that happens. Flat Earth believes that the Earth being flat doesn't have to spin because the electromagnetic force keeps us. Well, we know that it takes 24 hours for a single rotation of the Earth. Okay. If it took 24 hours for a single rotation of the flat Earth, the physics of it don't work. The Earth would expand out towards the poles that don't really apparently exist, but it would automatically turn itself into a globe. So somebody did the math, and the math on the spin that would that would crush the poles down towards the equator means we'd have 2.94-hour days. Now, again, if this flat earther stuff turns out to be true, and the rotation to be able to get the sun in the right place and the moon in the right place, all that sort of stuff, we would require 2.94-hour days. I'm not working an 8-hour day anymore. Okay. I,
No.
no, if it's 2.94 hours, I'm sleeping for like half the week, just so everybody's aware.
You already do that though.
Oh, fuck you.
Wait, okay, so since this is such a stupid fucking topic, uh that's somehow fascinating my mind and making it just jump over itself into ways I never thought it would. Do flat earthers believe in baseballs?
So it's funny because they know globes exist, and the funny thing is, gravity has to exist based off of the way that a baseball flies. So
Yes.
we can
Yes.
tell the way that they do. The funnier thing is, they don't believe in koalas.
Huh?
They don't believe in koalas. They don't. A lot of them don't believe in Australia at all. They say it's made up. But
What?
the
What? Wait,
koalas
wait,
are
wait.
really
Oh, they're eliminating an entire continent?
yes. It's easier for them to be able to believe that Australia doesn't exist to make a whole bunch of other stuff work. And this is the truth about flat earthers. They deny science because either they're grifting off of people, which makes them no better than a lot of the politicians we have, aka George Santos,
Ugh.
or they're misguided by the people that are grifting them that tell them something as fact that is not a fact. We know koalas exist. We know they came from Australia. There's
Yeah.
absolute proof that exists. There's people on Australia that can take pictures of Australia right now that can tell us that Australia
Wha
exists.
I mean,
But to them,
there's koalas at zoos. I mean, are they equating the koalas to, like, the squirrels around Central Park being spies for the government? I mean,
uh,
conspiracy theory. Anyway.
but the idea is for the flat earthers to win, they have to get you to suspend rational thought. And they do that by telling you something that they deny the science, say that's wrong, don't provide an alternative that actually makes sense. But in the absence of trusting that science and decaying the belief in science, they've gotten people to believe in the lack of science being the answer. Okay, there's a creator out there that makes these domes, that creates these flat planets, that explains the sun and the moon, and none of the other stuff works when you actually put it together with real science, but it's a suspension of rational belief that allows them to get people like Kanye to say, yeah, the earth is flat because they can grift off them. And let's just face it, they're the dumber people on the planet. And they're willing to believe whatever it is that either is going to make them money or that is going to further the belief in what they've been told that denies science so that they don't have to behave the way the rest of the world behaves. And that is the flat earth methodology, what every single flat earther does. It's either they're grifting or they're a grifty. That's it.
So,
I know it's so difficult to believe that people could be that dumb, but this is what happens when we don't invest in our school systems. This is what happens when a generation of kids were allowed to just pass because, hey, everybody gets a pass, everybody goes up to the next grade because we don't want to shame kids that are a little bit slower. There has to be another way to it. I don't believe in exclusion based off of intellectual ability. There has to be another way to be able to progress that's inclusive. But the idea that everybody gets a passing grade every single time just so that we can move them through the school system has produced the people that allow things like this to pervade.
God damn. Um,
So
yeah,
now I want to bring up one more thing, and then I know we have to move on to our next thing. But
all good,
I,
all good.
I look at it as if that flat Earth actually existed, it would be like a record. It would have little curves at the edges, and it would have grooves in it, and all that sort of stuff. If we were a giant record player, and you put the needle onto the Earth, what song would play?
You spin me right round, baby, right round, like a record, baby, right round.
Oh my God, Becky, look at the size of her butt.
You're so stupid. You're so stupid.
Tell me that's not what you wouldn't expect to play right now. Come up with a better song than that.
I did. I was hearkening back to a previous episode. Come
Yeah,
on.
but at the same time, mine was much much funnier.
Oh,
But it's
I.
probably more on the lines of a Milli Vanilli song.
Which one?
Doesn't matter; they were all faked.
Oh, I see what you did there.
And
Good
fun
job.
fact, the guy that put together Milli Vanilli, I did not know this, and this harkens back to an age that I don't often like to go back to. My parents had the 8-track for Boney M, Night Flight to Venus. It turns out that Boney M was all fake too, and it was the exact same music producer that created Boney M that created Milli Vanilli.
What?
Yep. Night Flight to Venus was all lip sync. The band broke up because they wanted to actually start singing their songs. And the guy that created the band said, nope, packed it all up. And then 10 years later made Milli
Oh my God, that's amazing. Guy's just a music grifter. I love it.
Vanilli. Yep. So, flat earthers, you have a lot of ideas, none of which work out. If you go to YouTube, there's a lot of videos that just debunk every single last thing. Look up the Southern Cross. Look up the videos of the sun being around for days and days and days in a row in Antarctica. Look up the flight path from Argentina to Australia. Look how big the Pacific Ocean gets. There's a lot of stuff out there that, as long as you don't get sucked into it by watching the stuff where they try to prove their stuff, which they never do, they just leave you with, well, if you challenge them, they just move on to another subject. They don't answer the challenge. Don't get caught up in it, but it's fun just to go through and see the levels of stupidity human beings will get.
Just use common sense. In
Uh,
life and with flat earth theories, use common sense.
yes, but Elon, please stop sending rockets up.
Bezos, yours don't reach high enough. You're fine.
I don't like the idea of Elon sending anything up into space because at some point it's going to come down, it's going to be uncontrolled, and it's going to do some damage.
Well,
Just kind of,
he's probably building the domes anyway.
he can't even build a Cybertruck. Tell me how he's building a dome.
Exactly.
And just an update: the first 30 deliveries, 4 of them have already broken down.
Oh.
They found them on the side of the road. The motors gave out on them.
Oh, that's cute. Well,
Yeah,
it was a nice thought.
yeah.
Not really.
I,
It
I
was a
think it's
thought.
I think it's better that the Cybertruck breaks down because you'd rather have that than it hit something and turn the person driving that car into goo. Because then somebody has to clean that up. And I do not want to meet the person nor shake the hand of the person that has to clean up a Cybertruck goo person.
I feel like that should just be the name of a band.
A Cybertruck goo person?
Cyber
Cybertruck glue cleaners.
Cybertruck goo people. So stupid.
Wow.
Uh,
Wow. There's
but
a new LLC that we got to register.
we got to do it before the end of the year because of that trademark clause that the government's passing.
Yeah.
Anyway, um, but on the Cybertruck note, I do want to make a little plug for something we alluded to in episode 7, and we are going to kick it forward. We are going forward with our celebrity cage match. Now, this is born out of our celebrity street brawls, which was an episode dedicated to celebrities Dan and I thought we could beat up in a street fight. But we need your help. So starting January 23rd, this contest will kick off. Now think of it like March Madness, where we have a bracket system set up that is live on the site, repressedhumorissues.com, where you'll be able to pick who you perceive to be the winners. And every week we're going to do some mini episodes to reveal the winners of each round, and explain their demise. Now, I will say, and Dan and I talked about this extensively, these decisions will be done at random by AI.
Yes. So a couple of things.
Yes.
The matchups were randomized. So there's some interesting matchups in here. We're gonna give you a quick preview of them today. But the matchups themselves were randomized to make sure that we had no input into who fought who.
Yep.
The winner was chosen randomly. And what we're doing is we're actually going to AI and having it write the fight story. And when we do these mini episodes, the fight story is going to come from AI. So we're not responsible for the fight story either. It's really funny. We've tested this out a couple of times. But the big thing that Ryan talked about is the ability to go to the website. In the top navigation bar, you'll see season 1 celebrity cage match. You can both see the matchups right now, and there's a submission to be able to fill out your bracket.
Yep.
Now, you're not going to win anything besides getting your name plastered all over the website and mentioned in the final finality of the celebrity cage match series. We can't give away any money or anything like that because we're both dead broke. We both admit it. That's why we're doing this and trying to get sponsors like
Jolt
Galactic
Cola.
Orbit. Jolt Cola. Jolt Cola, we're actually asking them to sponsor this. And you'll see on the website that we've asked them to sponsor in very direct terms.
Well,
But
I mean,
again,
we have an open threat to them that if they don't sponsor, I think it's RC Cola, maybe.
yeah, we'll start drinking RC Cola.
Yeah.
So
Come on,
I
Joel.
think that's fair.
It's fair. It's fair.
So I really want to get to some of these matchups because these
Please
matchups
go ahead.
Okay, so in round 1, we have Tinky Winky fighting Shia LaBeouf. This one is interesting because what AI came up with was just insane in the insults towards Shia LaBeouf when we were testing this.
But I think matchup 2 is actually AI has no chill. It's obvious. It's Bill Cosby versus Matt Lauer.
Which is just amazing. Just amazing that it picked that. Then we have the weirdest one that we've got.
Easily
We've got
the
C3PO versus the Detroit Madman, the Motor City Madman, Ted Nugent. Don't ask me how that happened.
I'm happy it did. After that, we have Dr. Oz versus the slapper, Will Smith.
Now, here's the problem with this. Ryan added Will Smith to the list. Will Smith could beat up Ryan. So this is an adventure for Ryan because he believes he could take out Will Smith.
Yep.
All I have to do is tell Jada that you said something bad about her, and you're getting the slap fucked out of you.
Look, much like your wife, I'm not trying to cross Jada either.
Anyways, keeping this going for weird people that ended up together, we have next Napoleon Dynamite versus Mel Gibson. I don't even know what a fight like that looks like. Is it just a tater tot? They fling tater tots till somebody's obese?
Well, I mean, or at least chucking some like full pans of lasagna. I have no idea.
The llamas get involved at some point.
After that, we would have Justin Bieber versus my least favorite. Well, I'm going to use quote fingers rapper 6ix9ine.
And that's funny because again, it was random that they ended up together, and you're going to see one in a couple of things that is even worse than that. A funny matchup just because it's people that I was just petty and even putting them on the list. Yes. The Olsen twins versus Kim Kardashian.
I know which way that one's going to go. Even AI knows which way that one's going to go. Next, we have Larry the Cable Guy and Howard Wolowitz.
And if you don't know who Howard Wolowitz is, look it up. And then one of my favorite ones
This
is
this to me is the most interesting matchup we have on the entire board.
yeah, it's Elon Musk versus Luke Skywalker himself, Mark Hamill. And
Now
Pasty White Boy is gonna get his ass beaten.
now which Mark Hamill is it? Is it regular everyday Mark Hamill doing the Uber Eats commercial? Is it Luke Skywalker, or is it Mark Hamill doing the Joker voice?
No, see, I did not say it was Luke Skywalker. I said it was Mark Hamill.
I know, I know.
Okay.
I was asking which
I
version
don't
of Mark Hamill we were
I
getting.
don't think either of us could beat up Mark Hamill. Sorry, Luke Skywalker.
I'll say this. I refuse to beat up Mark Hamill.
Well, it's going to have to be Elon if that's what's going to happen. So,
Well, after that, we have the dumbest one, I think. Maybe Pauly Shore versus Triumph the Insult Comic Dog. It's so
I,
fucking stupid.
I don't know how that works, but
No,
and
oh, you got the best one.
oh
Sorry.
yes, this one again. We had to preface this because this is the randomness of this happening. These two coming together. It is Wee Man versus Peter Dinklage, and I need to go shower because I feel dirty now.
Oh God. Well, I mean, this next one does make me feel dirty, but King Charles versus George Santos.
Yes,
I mean,
yes.
George. Yeah, that's all you can do. You just sigh. Just
You,
sigh.
you just hope George goes deep into this tournament so he could get beaten up over and over again and just barely win. But he can't win the whole thing. We will not allow him to win the whole thing.
We'll see what
So,
AI has to say. God.
yeah. So the next one is Jay Leno versus Samuel L. Jackson, which I believe there's an actual fight that could happen there.
Yeah, I think that could. Nah, I think the next one could actually be a real fight. You're right. I think Sam Jackson and Jay Leno would be actually a good brawl. But Kanye,
Yeah, all he's got to do is go back into Pulp Fiction mode and start calling him a motherfucker, and Jay will run away.
did he? I'm not going to do it. I can't do an impression. But Kanye West or Ye or whatever his name is today uh, versus Aquafina.
Yes. I was petty when I put Aquafina on this. I hope she kicks Kanye's ass.
Oh yeah, 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 yeah.
So, second to last fight is Oprah Winfrey versus Donald Trump, which is interesting for a whole bunch of reasons.
Oh, so many things to unpack there. And then our last matchup for season 1 is Matt Gaetz versus Robert Downey Jr.
The weakest Avenger.
You can always say
Oh, I will too. So, okay, so that's our matchups. Now, like I said, if you go to the website, you click on the top navigation bar in season one Celebrity Cage Match, you can see all of these and you can get to where you submit. You don't have to email them to them. You'll fill out your brackets. They're already all pre-filled with the defaults. You'll have to go and make sure you fill. And there's no way without knowing who is already going to win to for round 2, 3, and 4 to slim down the list. So there are long lists there. Just make sure that you don't say somebody gets beaten in the first round and then wins the second round. That
yeah.
obviously won't work.
No second lives.
And Jolt Cola, come on, you know you want to sponsor this.
I hope. God, that would be so cool.
So we will take submissions until January 23rd, at which time we will cut off the submissions and you will just be allowed to watch the results. And we will post the winner's bracket based off of whoever gets the most points at the end of the tournament.
I'm excited for this. This is fun.
Yes.
I submitted my bracket today. But AI is
Yours
gonna
doesn't
try
count.
to.
I erased it already because we can't do this.
I
We
still
can't
want
vote.
let me have points.
We have to
But
let somebody else besides the creators of this win. That's the
fine,
rules. Don't be a Michael
fine.
Scott. Don't try to get a trophy or a prize in your own name.
Whoa, fine.
Uh,
But
and I can tell you, we tested some of this to be able to make sure the whole premise was going to work, and it will work.
yeah,
But we were ready to do the whole thing today, just say who was going to win. That was no fun. We realized it's going to kill us for the next month waiting to get all through all the stages that we have to go through of this
oh
game.
my gosh. I mean, this is gonna be so much fun. I'm legit excited for this. I something to look forward to every week.
Yeah. And with that, I think we should thank our sponsor for today.
Yes, thank you so much, Virgin Orbit, for sponsoring us today, for being the Gargatha Crispy that we've all needed. No one knows what that means, but I'm going to run with it.
I don't think anybody wants to know what that means.
But yeah, so thank you everyone for joining us. Please fill out your brackets on repressedhumorissues.com for the celebrity cage match. Again, submissions due January 23rd, and then we will kick off into actual rounds, reading everything, but with the results. So I really do thank you everyone for tuning in, all your feedback. We're on Instagram, we're on Twitter. Please don't hesitate to reach out, text us, call us, whatever. If you know us, we love the feedback. It is very helpful. But that's all I have for today. So I'm Ryan.
I am the guy that put this whole bracket together, Dan.
It's fair. You
Yeah.
did. Yeah, I don't know how to do this stuff, but so thank you for doing that. But we will see you all, talk to you all next week.
Stay salty.
Oh, God.
Saying it was alcohol free?
It is alcohol free, yeah.
I mean, half the pleasure, twice the hangover. I don't know what you're going to get out of this.
I'm just hoping it gives me that heady feeling that it promises me.
I don't want to imagine it giving you head.
Fuck off. I opened that door. That was my fault.
I don't want this thing to go sexual in the long term, anyways, but you did open that door.